welcome back to the U Up Podcast. I'm Jordana Abraham.
And I am Jared Freed. It is so good to be back here with you, Jordana. How are you? What's going on? I mean, people need to go listen to Oversharing right now and hear your tale of what's going on at your apartment. I don't want to make you repeat it, but if you want,
I'll give the abridged version because
Yeah.
there's been new advancements since then. So it's tough because I host 3 different podcasts, right?
Right.
So I try not to repeat the same story on
It's
every
very
show.
difficult.
You know, you have this too with J Train.
I never shut the fuck up. I don't know what I'm talking about on a date versus a podcast.
Right. People who listen to one of our shows probably listen to more than one. Most people, maybe not all.
I assume no one listens to anything. I don't even know. I talk, I keep
it's
talking.
It's tough to know.
Right.
Right. So it's like hard to say which stories you should tell on multiple shows. I was going to tell it on this show. And then I was like, I'm so angry that I actually might need a therapy session. I feel like you would rile me up and I needed to be like subdued.
Right.
Because I was getting into a mode that Mike would call unbecoming, as I've stated before.
Cool, because you're living in this apartment situation because you're redoing the home that you've purchased out on Long Island. So you're in this in-between phase, which is never comfortable.
No.
You're not in Manhattan or Brooklyn or Queens. You're out on Long Island in an apartment building, which, you know, listen, there's people listening right now that are living that way right now and enjoying themselves. This is just, I think just being in between sucks.
Yes, being in between, moving again, as you know.
Right.
Just being in a place that you know you're not going to be that long. You're not really settled in ever. And again, like grand scheme of things, fine problem to have, whatever. But it is irritating. And it's been made worse by this building that I am in that is falling apart at the seams as we are living in it.
Crumbling as you sit in your bedroom. Yeah.
Literally, I think like it's almost like it's going to be a made-for-TV movie or something.
Right.
The way that the breakdown of this building has occurred, and I gave a little bit of a little bit behind the scenes on Oversharing. The short version is like the building that I am in is trying to sell.
Mm-hmm.
Supposedly there's maybe some fraud going on with like the ownership,
right.
allegedly according to a news article that I saw. And everything keeps disappearing. Like the security is gone.
Right. So the building keeps getting worse and worse as you live in it. They're dealing with seemingly money issues, and as
they keep cutting back.
They keep cutting back. So the building that you moved into is not what it is now today, and now you have no security,
no security, and like there's just like no one there answering anything. No emails to even update anyone about what's going on. I didn't even talk about all of the other, like there's way more than I shared on Oversharing.
It does. You don't like it there. It stinks.
It stinks.
Okay, it's okay.
It's also just like bad energy.
Right.
And you know, we talked to Heather Graham a couple weeks ago on this podcast, and like she talks about manifesting and all that stuff and energy, and like I do think that sort of just does, like if you like where you live, if you like the feeling of where you're staying, no matter what it is, I think you just have a better quality of life.
Yeah, you feel more positive, right?
And that doesn't even have to do with like how nice it is or whatever. It's just like the energy of the area that you're in.
I think the moved into a place that is not where you're going to be forever, and you know a move is coming up, that's just uncomfortable. I don't even think it has to be, any place would be bad in between.
Right.
Like in the situation you're in, like while you're waiting for the place you love,
right?
You know, get created in front of you, like all the things you get to choose, and then you're in this like home that you're saying I don't want. So so they're taking all these things away, and then you heard screaming in the hallway.
I heard they're taking all these things away. I'm working from home a few weeks ago, and I hear screaming in the hallway, and I'm like, you know. Again, they've taken away the security, so I'm not like immediately running out there. But I'm listening.
I would be looking at the keyhole, the people.
Yeah, I tried to do that. I didn't see it because it was like around the corner, I guess, from where.
Was it a moan or was it a scream? Like was it?
At first, it was a scream that I heard. Or like a yelling.
Okay, you're like, oh, they're putting up Halloween decorations. Okay.
And I hear this yelling, and someone's like, it sounds like someone's on the phone with like the police or something, and they're screaming like she's not breathing.
Oh my
they're like
God.
screaming, they're crying. It's a man who's like screaming and crying, and he's saying she's not breathing. Like, where the fuck? He says like, where the fuck are you? Where are you? Like, I don't know what to do. Like and then
I would not leave my apartment for a week.
oh my God. So I call Mike.
Yeah.
And I'm like, because
What's
he's
he
in,
gonna do?
he's in, I mean, he's in the city.
Yeah.
He's working in his office. I call Mike and he's like, well,
It's like, thank God I came into the office today.
no, he's like, so like, what are you, so are you help? Like, what are you doing to help? And I'm like, what? He's like, what are you doing to help? I'm like, I don't know. Like, I just happened. I'm calling you. He's like, well, you should go out there and see like if you can help something. Like,
What the fuck are you gonna do?
I don't. That's what I said.
CPR?
I'm like, there's clearly someone who's like on the phone with the police. I don't really know what I'll do, but like, yeah, I guess I should go out there. Like,
It's me, Jordana. Does anyone need a meme?
does anybody have
some cheering up? I can tell some jokes.
Is anybody memeing out there? Yeah.
Sounds like you guys could use
we need an
some
influencer.
fun Instagram posts to get
Is
your
anyone on this
spirits up.
floor an influencer? Is anyone else on this floor of a podcast?
Do you have any dating questions? Help us! It's me, Jordana Abraham of Betches. How can I be of service?
It's so fucked up to make jokes, but like, yes, there's that thought.
She's dying! Please help us!
There's nothing I can do. So but I went out there. And there's a guy like literally trying to give CPR to this woman, this older woman who's like on the floor, like unconscious. And I heard before I went out there, I heard like a groaning from this woman.
Right.
Like
Okay. So it went from screaming to groaning. This guy.
Well, the guy is screaming, she's groaning, and then
okay.
whatever.
Deathly sounds.
Yes.
You're like, would you like a faux pas?
Oh my God.
I'm sorry, I can't.
You're not gonna be happy about these jokes when I finish the story.
Okay, I'm sorry. I know
I mean,
I'm
you
ruining
already
it.
kind of know how the story goes. So I go out there. There's apparently like two guys who were like both leaving their hallway and simultaneously saw this woman on the floor, and one of the guys was helping her, and the other guy is like kind of standing there like me, like
Right. Memeless.
this guy seems like we should do something, whatever. But there's
I'm that guy, just like
I feel like
moving my arm towards her, like, you know.
Is there any? Well, as me, I'm kind of like I don't really know what I should do.
No.
Is there
You can only get in the way.
do? Right.
Yeah.
But there's no one downstairs. There's no security anymore. So I'm
Right.
like, so he's called the cops. I guess they're taking a bit to get there. I'm like, all right, I guess I'll go downstairs and because there's no one to open the door unless you have like the fob.
Mm-hmm.
Is that how you call it?
Fob, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So you're like, I'll be door holder.
I'll open the door.
I'm
I'll get the elevator. I'm like, I'll get the elevator ready for when they come.
You're doing more than I would have done.
So
I'm in favor of these ways of help. You're helping. You
I
are
tried.
helping.
Every
Yeah.
second counts, right? So I go downstairs and I like press the button for the elevator. They finally arrive. The doors open. The worst
The fire department comes. They're like, "Who pressed this button?"
The worst part of the story is that I press the button. The elevator's taking like literally is not even there by the time they're still waiting when they get there. The EMTs and there's
help.
like 10 of them.
Yeah.
Did not even help. But
Who
they
pressed down? We're going up.
fucked it up.
They fucked it up. Yeah.
So they get in the whatever. So they get there. She's not breathing. They're doing like the electroshock thing to get her breathing.
They're doing like clear.
They cut her shirt open. So this woman's like
She hot?
exposed in her. I mean, no, it's fucked. I mean, it's like a fucked up
Sorry,
thing
I
to
can't
see.
stop making jokes. Yeah, I'm sorry.
If you were there, it would not be funny. It would be like.
I'd crack one or two. I'd see what people.
I mean, I felt quite helpless watching like they cut this woman's shirt off. They're doing her like the electroshock.
Oh my God.
And then they say like they have a pulse.
We got a pulse.
Eventually, they have a pulse.
Oh, thank
So I'm like,
goodness.
okay, it seems like she's alive. And then they take her to the hospital, and that was like everyone goes back to their business because, like, I guess what else are you supposed to do?
Back to my Zoom meeting. That's crazy. No, you should get off. Like you should be.
The worst part of the
lab
story.
Bible people should let you take a day.
The worst part of the story that I didn't
Okay.
even
No,
tell on oversharing.
She
is
wasn't
that,
able to make it home for
well,
Rosh Hashanah.
I'm not sure if I should like leave because I'm not doing anything while this is. I'm kind of just like watching everything unfold. Like
Right.
I'm not even sure if I should be watching. Is it disrespectful to watch? Is it better to watch? And then I'm about to like leave, and I hear some from the hall. I can hear, like, can't see the person, and this guy comes out of his apartment. He goes, "Is that my wife?"
Oh, no.
I swear to God.
No.
He says, "Is that my wife?"
The whole time?
That was the weird part, because it was like 40 minutes later.
I don't like. You might be called in for the Netflix documentary.
It was very weird. He's like, he says, "Is that my wife?" And I'm like,
Was
"Oh
he
my
older?
God." Well, the woman was older. I didn't even see him because it was like around the like corner. I could just hear him saying that. And then the EMTs are like trying to find her ID.
Right.
Because they're not just going to like tell. They're like asking him.
Oh,
like,
that's bizarre.
It was very strange. Like for 40 minutes, also like they're screaming in the hallway. You didn't hear anything for 4. And then at the end when they're like,
that's
done,
like how I help with someone's move. Oh, did you need help with that? After it's already done.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Very bizarre. I was like, what is going on there?
Do you need me to do the dishes? Oh, they're done?
Is that my wife?
Is that my wife?
I was like, what have you been doing for the past 40 minutes?
You should have just started screaming, "You killed her!"
I mean,
It's just gotten crazy with them.
the story gets
That
crazy.
is wild. But and then you found out she passed, right?
Yeah, so then I wrote... Don't bury the lead
Yeah,
here.
I'm sorry.
Well, after this, I'm like... After this and the lack of security, and there's no email about what happens to this woman
think
from
I
the
saw
building.
this guy on Tinder.
There's no... There's no email from the building about what's happening to this woman.
Yeah.
There's no email about the fact that the security is gone. They're just gone. There's no
Right.
email about it. There was also like an alarm went off, like a fire alarm went off at like 12:30 a.m. and everyone left the building for like 45 minutes while the fire department came, and then finally they let everyone back in the building. No email from the building about any of
Here's
that.
what happened. What's going on? Right.
So I already wrote an angry email before any of this happened that no
Right.
one answered. Anyway, I
would
write
love to
an
read it.
angry email being like that. I wrote an angry email just being like, this is unacceptable. My packages are like, their packages are left outside. There's like a noise that keeps happening. There's no one there to do it. The security keeps coming. This is before they got rid of the security. Security guard keeps coming later and later.
Right.
There's no one here during the day. It's unsafe. Here's the other part, which I didn't want to share, but now I'm going to.
This is the home of being. Listen, I'm not gonna let.
This is
the
adding
crazies,
to the
yeah.
adding to the insane asylum vibe. Is that they found a woman in a suitcase, a dead woman in a suitcase, like a 1/10 of a mile from the apartment, like all around this time. And this is when they're getting rid of the security.
Are you kidding me?
I swear to God.
And then you just hear some guy. Is that my wife? Yeah,
I'm leaving.
Why
I'm
are
leaving.
you
but
living here?
Because I have a month left and I'm not moving again. I refuse to move again.
I think you need to put pride aside. Jordana, you sold a multi-million-dollar company.
I'm locking
you
the
don't
door.
You don't need this.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. It's like so short that I'm just
Yeah, that's what
bugging
the woman said
contractor
before
to
she was
finish-
chopped up and put it in a suitcase.
Well, if anything happens to me, you go after this building.
It's that one guy. Is that my wife?
Is that my
What? She's been screaming out here for
Well, that's
hours.
why it feels like a little bit like I'm like, am I a crazy person? What the fuck is going on here?
Right. It does
No
sound
one-
like you're living in a haunted house.
Right, and the whole staff is disappearing.
Yeah. No. Maybe.
Maybe it's me. I'm like, is this Shutter Island?
Right. It is a very Shutter Island story. Is this real? Are we even taping this episode?
I don't even know. Am I already dead? Is this the Sixth Sense?
We've all died.
Was I in the suit? I don't know. It's all getting very weird. But I have like by the time this comes out, less than a month left. I'm hoping
You're
to
almost
leave
there.
as soon as I can. I can't do another move.
I mean,
I would for the story, for the extra move, it would be good content.
It would be
but-
good. Well, the best Halloween prank of all would be for me to show up at your building randomly
With the Scream costume and
just
a
like,
knife.
"Ah!" I knock at your door, Jordana. We've all died.
Is that my wife?
Is that my wife? Just the calm nature.
It was so calm. It was so calm that I was like, "What's up here?"
No, that's crazy.
It
Honestly,
wasn't like, "Oh my God, is that
honestly-
my wife?" It was like, "Is that my wife?" On the floor,
I'm sorry
getting
to
the
laugh.
electroshock
Right.
current.
How did you hear it and him not?
I don't know.
That's like what you would that's like what you do if you're like planning to like make up your alibi.
right.
1, 2, 3. Is that my wife?
timed it
Just
perfectly.
behind the door.
And then so I have Mike write another email, which he didn't even CC me on because he's like, I don't think
you would judge him. You would say it wasn't strong enough.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he's complaining about all these things, and he's being like, and we were promised security when we like signed the
Right.
lease. We were under the impression there was security, and like all these things happened. No emails to alert the building of anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's two people on it, the leasing agent and the property manager, and they're like, it doesn't say that in your lease, it doesn't say that you're guaranteed security. The security might come back, it might not.
Yeah,
Like-
no, this is.
And then the asking about the woman, she's like, by the way, she died.
I'm sorry to laugh,
It's
but
crazy.
it is a way of shutting you up. Like
I thought it was so insensitive
yeah,
too.
it's insensitive. Well, listen, you're never gonna complain. No one can ever complain to me and have me go, someone died. Like I don't give a
Right.
shit. You not getting the packages to me is important. So,
That was the stronger argument.
well, to me, to say to me like,
well, that more is a
doesn't
direct
change that I'm
effect on me.
well, it also doesn't change the issue.
Mm-hmm.
You signed up for a building based on packages will be received.
Right.
Woman dying, not my fucking problem.
Well, that's basically what she said. Like
Right.
that could have happened anywhere,
Right.
anytime. I'm like, well, maybe I wouldn't be the one to have to deal with it if there was someone here
right.
controlling the building.
And it's also like we have bigger issues in the world than your packages. Women are dying on your floor
Well,
and then
this
being
building-
chopped up and put into suitcases.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, the only one that does directly affect me at the moment is the packages, but like the security is
Well, also the
disconcerting.
serial killer living on your floor is a little
Right.
bit of a concern.
Yeah, that's it's tough.
Well, we
Yeah.
wish you the best. We hope
Thank
you.
you. Hopefully,
stay
I'm here
safe.
next week.
We
If
hope.
I'm not, if you guys are listening, if I don't show up,
Big
go
cliffhanger.
check the building.
Yeah, well, you know where to find you. Mike pops in. Is that my wife?
Is that my? I literally said that. I'm like, how long would I have to be gone for you to?
I guess Jordana's sleeping in the city tonight.
Oh my god. I've had this I listen to a lot of true crime, and I've had this conversation. I'm like, how long would I have to not answer you for before you called the cops?
How long did
And
he
he's
say?
like, what do they say? Like 48 hours? I'm like,
48 hours.
are you
That's
fucking
crazy.
kidding? I think he said that sort of as a joke.
48. Well, don't they say that's a cold case at that point?
Yeah, I'm like, I'm already there. That's the most important time frame.
If my phone was lost, I would call. Right, I would go crazy. My girlfriend on the phone.
Call the police.
My phone falls out of my hand. I go, ah!
Is that my wife?
Is that my wife is so crazy. Well,
Yeah.
my week hasn't been that eventful.
No.
Well,
No bodies in a suitcase.
No,
in
knock
your
on wood.
area?
I live in New York City, so I'm sure someone's
Probably,
dead
but
near
it's
me.
not. It's not as newsworthy.
You know what I've been doing lately? not to
Murdering
change
women?
the subject.
Yeah,
No, I had a story to tell you because I went out last. I've been this week I took the week off of doing shows, and I was like, I'm gonna go out and like get dressed and go to a bar.
Isn't that what you do like every day?
This was different because I got like dressed a little bit
Okay.
up, and I was also thinking like maybe I'll talk to someone.
Okay, like dating wise.
Right. Didn't happen.
Okay.
It just turned into me drinking too many martinis and just being on my phone. And I went last night, and I don't know. I got to tell. Last night I went to Soho House, and I did a podcast, and then I went over there. It was like 8:00, and I was like, maybe I'll have dinner. I'll order dinner, and I'll sit at the bar, and then like whatever happens, happens.
Okay. That's
know-
the beauty of a single life.
I did feel very
Anything can happen.
right, and I did feel good about it.
Right.
Got dressed, went to Soho House. I'm sitting at the bar, and before I can even I order a drink, and I'm like thinking about food maybe, and then this woman comes up to me, and she's like hammered, and she goes, "Did I see you on Hinge?"
She's slurring.
Gone.
Okay.
And I go, and I look at her, I go, "I don't think so," and I'm like dead sober,
And you're not on Hinge anymore. right?
not on
Okay.
Hinge, and I go, "I'm not even on that app, but." Must be a great looking guy. She's like, I recognize you from somewhere.
You do a very good drunk woman.
I can do a drunk woman. I recognize. Well, it was just happened like hours ago at this point. I recognize you from somewhere, and I go, well, I guess I got one of those faces. And like, I go back on my phone because like, I don't want to talk to this person.
Right.
And then she's just, so now I'm like facing forward on my phone and she's just looking into my cheek, just like staring into me.
Okay.
And, and I go, and she goes, well, what are you doing tonight?
Hey.
And I go, just having a drink, chilling. And she goes, are you Jared Freed?
Okay.
And I go, that's me. She goes, I've been in like 3,000 of your shows. And I go, well, thank you.
And she's like past the line of like, are you like annoyed by this?
Of course it's annoying.
Okay.
And it's also like, what do I do?
Right.
I can't like face smush her and move her, get the fuck away.
Right. And she's alone.
I'm being polite.
Yeah.
And I go, well, and I'm trying to find my way out of this.
Okay.
And I go, well, what's the plan tonight? Like now I'm like, okay, I'll ask about her night and like, where are your friends?
Okay.
It's like, you know, kinda,
where can I leave you?
right. Who do
Is that my wife?
Some guy. Is that my wife talking? I go, she goes, I met this Australian and I don't know where she went, but what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm just going to have my drink. And she goes, well, what else are you going to do tonight? And I'm like,
is she coming on to you?
it felt like a come on. And like, I am not like, I don't know what to do.
Right.
And then there's another woman next to her who had introduced herself earlier and she like was like, oh, I know your stuff. And she was so nice. And she literally goes to her, she goes, excuse me, I'm his personal assistant. It's like alone time right now. And this woman, she was so nice.
It's like
but
a
like,
meet cute.
right. And I go, and she goes, Jared likes to have his alone time. And the way she was describing me,
So
I
someone
was
was
like,
watching this.
saw this whole thing.
Right. This is literally out of like a rom-com.
And she goes, and Jared likes to have, and I'm laughing because I'm like, she couldn't even understand
Saved
me.
you.
She saved me.
Right.
And as she's telling her, and the girl's going, why would he have alone time? Like she's not getting any of this. And then the bartender has the manager come over and kick her out of Soho House. Like I was a Kardashian.
So
yeah.
she really must have been bothering you. Like
I was
noticeably
patient.
to
It was-
everyone else.
Everyone must have noticed.
Right. Because I think that must be really validating because sometimes you're and I've talked about this on oversharing a bit where it's like you have a situation where you're like, am I being an asshole or is this
Right.
person annoying? Or is this person doing something wrong?
Right. All you want is another person in the room to eye roll them.
Right. To be like,
acknowledge that we're not the Sixth Sense and we're dead. You know,
right.
like
And you're not just like some rude guy who doesn't
Right.
want to talk to anyone.
And listen, we've all had a drunk night. I've been that person. I've been her. So I can't, like, I'm not like mad at her, but I'm also like, the night's kind of over for me.
Right.
Like, I'm like, this isn't happening here.
Okay.
Like,
So
I didn't get the, you know, and then the other one was so nice. I bought her a drink and she was on her way to a date that night. And, I told her anytime you want to come to a show, whatever, but she was
Why
very
don't you
nice.
go out with her?
She's great.
That's a
she had a
great-
date. She said she had a great date. You
So
know,
great. What number date?
I think it was a first date. She was going out to another place.
Okay.
And I had been to that place and had drinks there. And I was like, you're going to love it. It's a great date spot. Enjoy.
Yeah. I mean, that is the beginning of a meet cute if I ever
That's-
heard one.
yeah.
So
Listen,
if the date didn't work out, maybe
I'm
she's
here.
the one for you.
Who knows?
Sounds like a pain in the ass.
right. The premise of I'm his personal assistant and Jared needs his alone time.
Bold move.
Very bold. It was great. But
It's
I was
pretty
also,
high.
there's a moment where you're like, I hope no one else hears this and thinks this is for real.
Well, it's like in the rom-com where someone comes up and they're like, "Oh, I'm her boyfriend," like
Right.
like to get the
Shoo,
guy who's
loser.
annoying.
Yeah. And then the person who saved me, she was like, now you're seeing what it's like to be a woman. And I was like, yeah, there is an element of that where it's like, you're not getting the hint.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, I've said
Right.
hello to you
I'm not.
and I'm being nice.
Yeah.
And now you need to go away. But I will say New York City has been alive. That was the reason I decided to go out
Unlike
this week.
Long Island,
And
which
yeah.
is full of dead people. Sorry.
Yeah, the woman stuffed into a suitcase is a nice little metaphor for where you are.
Yeah.
Well, we did get a ranking.
Of the best and worst cities to date in.
The best and worst
What a
cities
great
to date in.
transition.
Yes.
Yes.
And, this has come up a lot this week because this is a very clickbaity headline. The best and worst cities to date in. WalletHub analyzed 182 cities in the United States based on 35 factors for dating friendliness. added into a 100-point scale to determine the best and worst cities for dating. The factors were split between 3 key dimensions: economics, fun and recreation, and dating opportunities. So
I have to say, I wouldn't judge a city's how good it is for dating based on the criteria that they.
this is why it was important for us. Well, this is why we wanted to talk about it.
Right.
This list is getting a lot of pub, and I agree with you. Not a fair way to rank. I don't know.
I think so many of these things don't have any effect on how good of a city is to date in a city.
Considering that, well, what's the list? New York is the top 5. Here are the best cities to be single.
According to them.
According to this mathematical equation, which a third of it is economics that only considers how expensive things are.
Right.
That was the problem, is like, if all it is, if the economics, if expensive cocktail means worse dating city.
Right.
I don't know if that's how dating is looked at.
I've never heard anyone be like, my city's the worst to date in. It's so expensive to get a drink here.
Right.
I mean, I guess like for guys who are paying for more dates, maybe that factors in. They would go on more. Would a guy go on more dates if cocktails were $3 cheaper?
Yeah, I don't think they're considering when you write things that when the statistics are a very skewable thing. Like that is done all the time. People make statistics work for their argument. So I agree with you. To me, dating, they're not treating it as a luxury thing. They're kind of treating it as as something you have to do. When you say that the drinks are too expensive, it's like, well, then don't go dating. You know what I mean? Like
Well, it's just funny, like the things they put in here, like haircut costs.
Right.
Not going on this date. Do you know how much a haircut is? Like, how does that have anything to do with it?
Well, then I was like, are we being elitist by not considering that? But I don't think, I was trying to think at like my most scrap for cash. I'm not like deciding between a haircut and dating.
Here's the other part of it is like if you live in a
this penis is gonna fuck.
If you live in
haircut or not.
If you live in a city that's more expensive, you probably make more money than in a city that's less expensive is the other part of it, which is why I don't think that this makes that much sense to me. Like if I'm going on a date in Des Moines, I assume the drinks are cheaper and I make less money than if I'm going on a date in New York City.
That wasn't accounted for on that was something I looked for. Like it did have median income, but like it didn't take into account income enough, considering
to me they offset the other stuff.
Right, all the costs, considerations they took.
Right.
There, when you're considering a haircut, but only doing the mean, and then that haircut and price to a movie theater is to read some of these: restaurant meal costs, average beer and wine, average cocktail price, average price for 2-person meal, movie costs, average price for tickets to a theater, taxi fare, like all those things being considered. Then one
got to move to a city where average price for tickets to the theater are affordable, so I can date
all of
more.
our listeners going to the theater for their third date.
Well, what would you rate a city's dateability on?
See, that's
the
thing.
If you could pick a criteria, what would it be? Like how
I
good
would want to know
dating.
how busy things are. You want people.
Right.
Like, to me, like for New York City to not be in the top 10 is a disservice. It makes the whole list wrong. Because, and again, no one's going to disagree with the list because dating is hard here, just like it's hard everywhere.
Well, it's subjective, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But it's like only the negative people will come out of the woodwork. Like no one's going to be like, no, New York's great for dating, unless they have a ring on their finger and no one wants to hear from them.
Right.
So here are the best cities to be single by based on this list after we've just, but I think there's something to be seen here.
Let's hear.
Seattle, Washington is number 1. I would agree with that. I think that's an expensive city though.
Okay. I've only been there for like 24 hours for one of our shows.
Yeah.
So I don't know too much about it.
I would say Seattle has, from my perspective, it had young people. It's got fun bars. It's got cool restaurants. It's got a scene. There's different neighborhoods. So you can go to where I've done shows at the Neptune Theater. That's like a college-y area. That's probably a little cheaper, a little bit more, hippy dippy. There's a downtown. So I would think that's a good thing for dating.
Yeah.
Las Vegas is number 2.
No.
See, the thing is, immediate no.
Immediate no.
Well, here's the thing. Vegas is now like a growing metropolitan.
Sure.
Like it is a growing city. The Vegas, Henderson, which is like the surrounding area of Vegas, is like a very up and coming area. So the problem Las Vegans have, I would assume, is randos coming into town.
Right. Most people, I would imagine, who are on these apps are people visiting.
Right. So there might be great places to go for dates and it might be cheaper, but also you have a bunch of people coming in, on their horse,
Right.
ready to let loose.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
that's
clearly
an
there's a lot of
issue that's not
activities,
considered by this list.
Right. To me, a good dating city isn't the city where there's the most activities to do. Like, to me, if I were going to rate a city based on what would make it most attractive to date in, it would be the ratio of men to women. I would want even or more men as a woman.
Yep.
I think that would be like, and I think New York has more single women than men.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I read that somewhere. I could be wrong, but like I vaguely remember seeing that. So I'd want a good I'd want a good ratio of people. I'd want a city that does have like bars and activities that are easy to get to and get back from. I think that's good. Like, you want to be able to easily access a date and maybe not have to drive. So I think New York's great for that. I'm trying to think of what else.
I can tell you one other thing. You want people making money.
Right.
Because this is not.
Well, it's all relative to where you are, though. Money, a lot of money in one place is not a lot of money in a different place.
But I'm saying, like, you go to a place like, you just want people making, I would say, disposable income.
So that
People
they're
with
not like, why don't you come
disposable
over?
Right. Well, you want people that are, I think people who are making money or with disposable income are less stressed. They're probably happier because they feel that they've accomplished something. They don't, they're not going paycheck to paycheck. Like, that's a measurable thing to see, like, do people have spending money above their rent and the needs that they have on a daily basis?
And I think that's what this WalletHub thing was trying to get at.
Right.
And just by measuring the cost of all these things.
Right.
But I don't know that is how I would do it. But I think that's a part of it, but I don't think that's like the whole thing.
No, but it's like, the issues that we get sent in here of like, oh, he's not ready to commit. Well, he's probably not happy in his career, with a lot of those guys that are like, I'm not ready to commit.
Right.
So it's like, do you have a bustling economy?
Yes.
Like, that would be important to the dating scene, in my mind.
Yeah.
So here's the rest of the
I have
list.
another one.
Go ahead.
I think a city where, and I think they sort of reference this, they should community well-being score index. Something about like things that you can do that would get you off the apps to meet people in real life would be a city that has more of those things, whether that's your run club or like, what I mean? Like anything that makes it feel like a little bit
active city.
Yeah. A little bit like you could meet someone doing something that you like to do.
Right. Well, I would also add into that, and I think this is why New York is a bad dating city, is it easy to go from city to suburb? What's the track?
Right.
Like, can you take, so I think like Chicago has this a lot where it's like the move from city to suburb is a little bit like more clear.
How do you mean clear?
Well, you have a lot of people leaving New York right now because they're like, where would I even buy a house? Like the cost is so much, the taxes are so much. Why wouldn't I go somewhere where I can live and feel good about myself instead of commuting into this big city from a suburb? I think there's a lot of that, these other places. Like you look at like a place like, so number 2 is Vegas, number 3, Denver. Like that is an open city that gives way to town outside of city.
I see what you're saying.
To me, I think the hump between city and suburb here in New York, I feel that. Where I'm like, man, I'm signing up for like a totally different life if I move to Westchester.
Right. It's not like it's not like the suburbs are so close to the city where you could buy and sort of still it was like LA is kind of like that, where you could live in like the real city and still have a house that's in the suburbs. Right. Well, it's interesting, I think, the dateability in cities, because there's another aspect that you can't really measure on here, which is sort of like how good you have it relative to the other people in the city. right? I think about a city like LA, which is probably a really hard city to date in because everyone is super hot. And there's probably a bunch of like very rich, hot people.
Right.
And so if you're like an average person and people are on the apps in that city, you're like, there's just like a million hotter people than you, right? Whereas if you're the same person and you're dating in, I don't know, Michigan, maybe you're doing, I don't know.
You're one of those Michigan uglies.
I don't know. I'm just throwing out like a more average city where everyone's not trying to be like an actress or a model.
Right.
I think relatively, you might just feel like you're doing better, even though you're the same person in both cities.
Right. Well, that's kind of the draw of some of these like secondary cities. Like you go to Cleveland,
right?
And you go, look how much I'd be killing it here.
Yeah.
Hypothetically.
That's why people move there, like monetary. Like look at the house I could get in Cleveland compared to the house I could get in New York.
Let's read through the rest of the list. Okay. Denver, Colorado, totally. I think that's a great city. Atlanta, Georgia, Austin, Texas. I'm going there this week and I'll already be back. Reno, Nevada. I don't understand that one. I've been to Reno. I mean, that seems very much, chopped up woman in the luggage territory.
I've been to Reno too to get to Tahoe.
Oh yeah,
just the airport.
Yeah. Tampa, which I agree with. Tampa, very young city, very fun. Madison, Wisconsin, surprise, but that's also the capital. City. It's a college city and the capital, so there's like older people there. Tucson, Arizona, Portland, Oregon. I've never been to Tucson, been to Portland. Portland, I can understand it. The worst cities, you ready?
Yeah.
Columbia, Maryland.
I don't know where that is.
I don't know that one. Warwick, Rhode Island.
Not sure either.
Yeah, Brownsville, Texas.
Did they rate every single city in America?
They did a lot of cities.
I thought these were like major. They should do like major cities.
Well, that's the thing. Like Warwick isn't really fair against Las Vegas.
Right.
But I guess all these cities.
It'd be funny to be like in Columbia, Maryland, being like that your city is ranked the worst city.
You're sitting there single and alone in your studio apartment, eating from your bowl. Yeah. Glendale, California, Pearl City, Hawaii, Dover, Delaware, Jackson, Mississippi, Hialeah, Florida, Little Rock, Arkansas, Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I would say that if you're a high tax, low population place, then that's where you get fucked on this list.
Right.
Yeah,
I could see that. Also, low population, big one, or like population that is not mostly married.
Right.
Or mostly in, not a single city. There's cities that are more for singles, and there's cities where like there's very few single people. Like I know people on Long Island who are like divorced and dating on Long Island. And
I would think Long Island is pretty good. A lot of people. But also high tax, high expensive.
Most of the people there, though, are like married with families.
Right.
I think there's less people who are single than in New York City, obviously.
But also the people like that area where I had the show near you. What's it called?
Huntington.
Like Huntington seems like a place I would want to go on a date in.
Yeah. It's definitely there's like but
there's going to be a smaller crew. But like I don't even think this is accounting for a smaller crew.
Right.
We know everybody. Everyone's, fucking each other's cousin. I don't know. New York was 144 out of 182. New Jersey.
I think to me that again invalidates the list that New York is 144.
Jersey City ranked 50th out of 182.
Also interesting.
Well, I've been to Jersey City. There's a happening there, but also cheaper.
What about LA? Los
Angeles ranked 29th out of 182.
That to me doesn't make sense. To me, that would be the worst. If I were single, that would be like the last place I wanted to live.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Have you dated in other cities besides New York? Really?
Me,
it's hard to
not
really compare. Like maybe it is the worst, and we just don't know it.
But we've gone to these other places and we've heard the tales, and none of them are surprising to me. And there's also no place where someone says it's great.
Right.
No one likes it.
That's true.
They only like it once they're married or whatever and done.
You rarely hear it's the
Here's
best
how I know
city
New
to
York
date.
is great. Everyone that moves out of here, when they talk to you, they talk about it as if there was a big part of their life. You ever met someone who's moved? Have you ever talked with someone who's moved out? Yeah, I mean,
what are you talking about?
You ever talk to that woman that got chopped up in that bag? She had some New York City tales.
She was like, if only the drinks were less expensive, I'd still be there. Yeah.
I talk to people that used to live in New York and then talk about it. They've lived here for like 5 minutes and they're like, I remember the days when I gallivanted around the city and I went bar to bar. They have this glowing look and then they're married with kids in another city. And all they talk about is their fun time they had in New York.
Right.
Well, like they all have, the people that should be polled are the people who are married, that did dating and are done with dating. Anyone in dating hates it.
Right, already hates it, yeah.
Like, this happens in every city I go to. There's always some married woman who's like, I lived in New York. I used to go to the West Village. I'd have drinks, had a martini while I watched the taxi cabs roll by.
That's me. That's what I tell everyone.
Yeah, they're all these like former Samanthas.
I was just like the girl. I was literally about to say, I was just like the girls from Sex and the City.
Right. They all tell me. Yeah. I used to blow a guy in the bar room.
Back in the day.
Then I'd go out and have a cigarette.
Why do they sound like men?
I don't know.
Their voices get deeper.
I used to go to the Red Lion and watch the bands play.
You sound like the serial killer on my block.
Is that him? Is that my wife? All right, let's do the awkward encounter. You ready? J&J have been a listener for a few months as well as a new subscriber. Needless to say, love your show and saw Jared in Milwaukee this summer. Thank you. I have an awkward encounter that resurfaced from my bank of pre-marriage dating memories when I was laughing along with you all the other day. A few years ago, I was dating a stereotypically nice guy for a few weeks/months. He was tall, good-looking, polite, had a corporate job. I used to blow him in the bathroom of a bar nearby. So he dressed well and definitely checked all the superficial boxes except for one big one. If I'm being honest, the sex was okay at best. I like a nice mix of sensual and a touch of roughness in the bedroom. I just love the casual nature of that sentence.
I think that's a universal feeling.
I do too.
Right?
I think that's a big thing.
Well, like I said, that's kind of what you describe as the safe adventure.
Yes.
Like generally sensual, but like a little something out there.
Right.
Yeah.
Surprise me. Mm-hmm. I like a nice mix of sensual and a touch of roughness in the bedroom. One night, we were at my place getting physical in an attempt to spice up the so-so sex. I let him know I like to be spanked, and it would be hot if he did that. He looked surprised and said, okay, pretty excitedly.
Sounds standard.
Yeah, and also, it is funny. Like, she's like, oh my God, he got excited that I told him what I like. Yeah, he would.
Right. Are you the problem?
Guys like to be told, oh, this is, we want to know the button to press that'll get you going.
He's not just going to spank you if you don't ask. That's rude.
Right. Go around spanking people. Right. We were getting into it, so I flipped around so my ass was in prime position for a solid smack. She has written on her ass, slap here.
Right here.
I was really feeling it and asked him to spank me. He did a nice solid one, and I was actually surprised and turned on more by his sudden surge in masculinity. Welp, I was instantly met with the most insane case of the ick. We're talking desert dry. When he went to spank me again, but said, baby spanks, in a soft, weird, childlike voice, and gently tapped my ass with his hand. Needless to say, he isn't the man I'm married to now. Thanks for the laughs and occasional deep thoughts. A spankful betch. I love the sign off.
Not bad for this guy.
I do too, because so I guess
he's trying to get like a
baby spanks.
Participate. He's trying to participate. You know, he's like,
right. Well, he got that's the thing. You gave him a direction, and he decided to get creative.
Right.
So he was going to go big spanks. He's going to go baby spanks. He's going to go medium spanks. He's going to do voices. He's going to, use one finger, then do a full palm.
Right. He thought he was being invited to, mix it up.
Right. Now you get to be creative. And he was like, I'm going to go with this baby spanks thing. It is funny to think that, like, he was one direction. If he had just kept beating the shit out of her ass.
Right.
She would be like, oh my God.
He tried to soften it almost.
No, he was like, I gotta go. I've already gone big. Let me go small.
Yeah.
I get what he thought.
It was an experiment. It didn't go well.
Baby spanks. Yeah.
I feel bad.
Doink. Yeah, I feel from
He
he.
was like, okay, like she's suggested something. I'm gonna do that with
It's
a slight
one of those
twist.
right. It's one of those things you can't fix too. Can't be
Right.
like, hey, you can't go back.
And you can't explain it because
Right.
that takes it out of it.
And hey, I'm gonna end this relationship. Why? Okay, you're gonna really hate to hear this. The baby spanks. That's what ended it for me.
Yeah.
Like you can't.
Can't say that.
That's the like the all.
I don't even fully understand it. He's saying baby spanks.
No, he's doing her from behind, and
Okay.
he spanks her once, and then he goes.
She likes it.
She likes it, and he's like, "Oh, great!" And then he's like, "I'm gonna go soft this time, and I'm gonna refer to it as a baby spank."
Okay.
That was his move. So he goes, and then he goes, "Baby spank coming,"
Yeah.
and he went smaller. You can't
I
go
get
smaller.
I get the turn off. I also feel like, again, he was.
Well, here's the turnoff. You want it's okay. I think it's okay to give someone direction. It's not okay to then take that direction and run with it in the wrong direction.
For him.
For him.
Okay.
Like it is like she even said, I was turned on. He understood the assignment. And just like you said, he's not gonna go in and just start spanking some woman. So he's like, oh, okay. And she's like, oh my God. He gets it now. He's
We're on
down.
the up and up.
We're on the up and up. We're down for the same thing. And then he goes the totally wrong way when it's like left to his own devices.
Right.
And it's like, we're just not a match. It's not
Yeah.
that he's not a good person.
Well, here's the other thing, which you
Right.
hear in a lot of these encounters, or it's deal breaker. She was on the fence.
Mm-hmm.
If you're really into someone, wouldn't matter. If you're
Right.
on the fence, you make one last ditch effort. This is what I like.
Right.
And then it doesn't manifest in the way you wanted it to, then you're out.
I always think like I'll go for a spank every now and again to be
Okay.
open and honest. And sometimes I'll miss. And
The
I'm always
person's
like,
not into it.
no, maybe she's not. That's a possibility. I'm not going to sit here and say every
Everyone
person
loves
I've
it?
spanked has
Sure.
loved it. But sometimes you hit it and you're
Yeah.
like, good spank. I'll go for it again. Then you go and you like flub it.
Okay.
It's like a bad
Yeah.
high
It's
five.
like a bad handshake.
Yeah.
Right.
And
yeah.
you go, I'll try again. And I'm always
Makes you
wondering,
look- if you don't do it right, it does make you like,
just my club
it's
hand.
it's way worse than not doing it.
Right.
Right.
So I'm like, I gotta go again because I want to make sure I connect.
Got to make sure you got the wrist motion.
Right. I gotta
correct.
it's like hitting someone with like a rat tail on a towel.
Right.
The first time you're like, oh, I didn't get him.
Mm. Yeah. No, I get it. It's an art. There's an
It
art to
is an art. And and sometimes I'll just be above it and I'm like, okay, 1, 2.
Brace yourself.
Well, I'm like,
You ready?
this woman wants to be spanked,
Yeah.
so I'm going to give her the spanking of her life.
Right.
And then you go to, I'm like, it's funny to me because, like, in that position, sex is funny. When
course.
you, like, if you pull yourself out of it, there's moments where I'm like outside of my body and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, I'm like looking at myself, this isn't you. And like, I'm like sitting there and I'm like, and all I'm thinking about, like, we're mid fuck. And all I'm thinking about is, I better nail this slap. Like, I'm not even
Right.
in it.
Yeah.
I'm just
Are you even enjoying it?
right. I'm doing this for her.
Mm.
She seems to like a
Do you
spank.
like it? Would you like receiving? Someone was
A
into
spank?
Yeah.
Yeah, give it back.
Sure.
Let's just two people whacking
Spank
each
each
other.
other.
If she likes it, this is the thing. I think men are underrated with, I think there's a lot of fear of like scaring a guy away sometimes or scaring anyone away. This is genderless, I guess.
Maybe it's because we constantly get dumped. You're like, there's such a rational fear that you're going to be rejected at any moment.
I don't think I would never, it would.
You would never reject anyone.
I would never. I'll fuck anyone. No, I would never. If someone had like a thing they were into in the bedroom, that to me is off of the list of items that would make me end it.
Okay.
If that makes any sense. I think it's different.
You end it more for their personality.
Right. Let's do another email.
All right.
uup@betches.com. I love this email because of the tone.
The tone.
This email might be the angriest one we've ever received.
You love an angry email.
I just think it's so funny.
Should
that
I read
she's
it
like,
angry?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to read
Please.
it angry. Okay. Hi, J&J. Love all you do. 2-part question for you. 1. Why do men almost get into a relationship with one person, but lead them on, can't commit, but then almost immediately after ending things, jump into a serious committed relationship? 2, why do they continue to check in after ending things? I am driving myself crazy. I was in a 7-month situationship.
Oh, you're going through this?
You think?
We had no idea. It sounded like you were so removed from the topic.
We hung out 5 nights a week. He made future plans. We had a really strong physical and emotional connection, etc. He couldn't commit. One of the main reasons being I'm 12 years younger than him. Basically said I was immature, but in a nicer way. LOL.
Doesn't sound like she's
Just laughing at all, yeah. He would also tell me he wants to commit, but just likes to take things slow. Liar! Sorry, that was me, not him, not her.
Could have been her.
After we end things, 3 months later, we sleep together. 1 week later, I find out he is on vacation with a girl, much closer to his age. Some old bitch. And they are officially dating. When he comes home, he sees me in public. I don't say hi. He texts me. I don't respond. We don't follow each other on Instagram, but he has watched a handful of my stories. Most recently, I was hanging out with one of my girlfriends and 2 of his good friends, so 2 girls, including me, and 2 guys. When the situationship guy found out I was there, he asked if it was okay if he came. Once he got there, he proceeded to keep bringing up past good times between us / inside jokes. I could go into more detail, but basically he is giving this girl commitment, taking her on vacation, posting her on Instagram stories, not the feed. I don't know if that's relevant.
It's relevant.
Basically, I just don't understand why he's giving her all the things he could never give me, despite me feeling like him and I had a super strong connection. Why her and not me? But also, why does he seemingly keep tabs on me? This girl sounds angry, but I can relate.
That's why.
I get it.
Well, that's why it was so funny. She has a right to be angry.
Yeah.
It feels like she's really going through it.
I haven't written an email like this, but I've definitely ranted to someone in a similar fashion.
Right. This is that's why I love this email. It's like so real. She has a very relatable and understandable issue.
And it is infuriating.
Right.
I get it.
And I can give, I don't know, where do we start?
Right. That is one of the toughest things, I think, in dating, to see someone who told you that they couldn't commit to you, commit to someone else, because it just feels like, okay, there's something wrong with me.
Right. And here's the problem. There's many problems. One, it doesn't matter to him as much as it matters to you.
Right.
None of this hurts him. He is not emotionally scarred by this in any way. He cared little going in and he cares little going out. And it's not personal. I know that sounds horrible.
Well, that's the worst part.
Right.
I think the worst part is that and I've talked about this before, is the feeling like I am so invested in this and you don't give a shit.
Right. Maybe he is, and that's the problem from his end. And I'm speaking for him because I've been him, where you're like, this is a nice person. I really do like our time together when we're together, but I don't see it being more than that. And letting go of it is okay for me.
Why do you see it being more than that with someone else?
See, the comparison's never going to get her anywhere. I don't think he's doing that.
Well,
I think
why would you? Why, like,
her being 12 years younger is a big part of this.
Okay.
He doesn't feel as badly or never saw it as a thing because her time wasn't as he didn't feel he was wasting her time as he would be the next person.
Because he sees her as so young and having so much time to meet someone who is serious about it.
Right. So for them having this casual thing, he's not so much of a dick because she's 27 and, she's got time. I think that is a big part of this because she says the woman he's posting with is older. And I don't think she's going to get commitment or good commitment I don't think this guy is going to be.
He's still messaging her.
Right. He's still messaging her, but he also doesn't see what they had as like serious. So yeah, I the comparison she's going to do, I get it, but that's not how he's not looking at it as like worthy person, unworthy person.
Well, that's how it feels.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't doubt her feelings, but he is seeing it as person I need to like take their time more seriously, person whose time isn't really of concern to me.
But what if he's committing to them? Then why? Then it's person
Because
I want to commit to and person I don't want to commit. Like it is
right.
It is more than that.
I do think when you're dating someone older, there's scarcity. there's scarcity built in.
Okay.
So, and I'm saying this off the top of my head, but this is a real feeling that when you're dating someone older and you know that like, and listen, I'm giving him a lot of empathy. I'm basically believing that he would care about this.
Okay.
Which she might not believe at all. She might think he's such a monster that he doesn't give a fuck about anyone's time, which is her right to feel. But I would say, like, if it were me, I would look at the person who's, like, I'm 39. If I dated a 39-year-old, I would be, like, very purposeful with my actions.
Right.
Every move would be accounted for.
Okay.
If I was dating someone who's 26...
Well, it's almost like because you feel bad for that person than the older person. You're, like, taking more care because you're, like... They need this more than the...
Well, I guess I don't want to waste their time. You know, I would assume at that age they're looking for serious.
Mm-hmm.
I would assume that our conversations from the get-go would be different. Like, I don't think her conversations with him, 7-month situationship.
Right.
Like, to say that they're the same, she's comparing apples to oranges. 7-month situationship is not the same as... We started from get-go being like, I am looking for something serious.
Right. It's just hard because...
I know it's hard. I don't mean to...
I see what you're saying, but it's like 7-month situation. You hang out 5 nights a week. Like, it's tough because I can understand how she feels where she's like, we hung out 5 nights a week. Clearly, like, we spend a lot of time together. It would be weird for me to not be invested in this. Like, how could you think I wouldn't be invested in someone that I see 5 nights a week?
Right. I that's a lot of nights. Yeah, I guess like I'm answering maybe a question she wasn't even asking. She asked, why do almost men get into relationships with one person later? I think, you know, the problem is that, you know, most guys out there are looking for commitment,
right?
But have the capacity to find lust along the way.
Right.
And maybe that capacity comes off as cold and mean and
I think
personal.
Only when the other person, I think, is clearly more invested.
Right.
Right. Then it does come off as mean.
Yeah. And there's no part of me that doubts her feelings or she's validated. I hope she doesn't think that I'm
screaming right there with you.
Yeah, I get it. I get why this is all so frustrating, but like the facts of the matter. Like the facts of this 12 years older, he's now dating someone closer to his age. I can understand how that started in a different way than situationship with young chick I met.
Right. Well, that's a good lesson to her because the older woman is probably not going 7 months with him without saying
what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
Right.
Because she's older and because maybe she did this when she was 12 years younger, where she dated a guy that wasn't trying to commit to her for 7 months. But then so when she's dating this guy now, she's being a lot less, see what happens. Like, I'm not going to rock the boat. I like it. You know what I mean? Like, she's probably saying what she wants.
Well, that's where the scarcity comes in, because he's like, I know if I don't, post this picture on stories, I'm not going to have access to this person that could be someone I would want to be with.
Right. And maybe that makes you want to be with them more.
That's part of it.
And I think this is the thing that feels a little gamey, but they're not putting up with your shit. So there is something hot about that. Right.
And it becomes a would you rather situation. Would you rather be here emailing us about some guy who's now dating someone and you feel wronged by, who doesn't really care about your feelings and thinks it's all a game and fun? Or would you rather lose that guy like a week in when he's like, what are you doing out tonight?
Right. Well, that's the lesson for this.
Right.
That's the lesson for this person, that she becomes the person that dates this guy. I mean, assuming this is someone that you actually want to date. I don't know. But you become the person that dates this guy by learning from this experience and saying, okay, if I'm interested in something more with this person, I'm not going to wait 7 months. I'm going to be very clear about what I want from the beginning. And I'm not going to keep dating someone who is not committing or wants to go much slower than I do, or one of those things. Like, that's the lesson for her, I think. Right.
And the second question, why do they continue checking in? I think it's an ego play. It's a curiosity. I think listen, as someone who has looked at someone's stories that I had hooked up with way back when, I don't think that's beyond anybody. I've done that.
It's when you're saying it's an ego play, is it you're saying this person likes me and I know they like me? And
No,
it
I
feels
think it's
good
more
to-
like this is someone I'm attracted to.
So ego for who?
I get maybe ego's not the right word. It's like I think like the attraction stuff for men,
Mm-hmm.
it is different as far as like when you hear from women who have like gotten over a guy, you hear from women a lot that they're like disgusted by him now.
You have to be almost. Right.
That is a feeling I've never had. I've never been disgusted by someone I've been with.
Okay.
Like I've never gotten to that point.
Right.
I still think they're an attractive person and understand why someone would be attracted. There's no like, I don't need to get to that point. And maybe that's because I'm the less invested one. I don't know.
Right.
But I'm giving you the perspective of this guy who and I would say to her, you're obviously seeing these things. They need to be blocked. He is never going to take these measures.
Right.
Because he doesn't care. It doesn't hurt him.
Well, he's the dealer, as we've said.
Right.
She's the addict. He's the dealer.
Yeah.
And he doesn't care about you as the addict.
No.
If you'll keep buying the drug, he'll keep selling it to you.
That's right. Let's play some games.
Let's do it.
Today's Red Flag or Deal Breaker is sponsored by Netflix. Fall in love with Nobody Wants This, a hot and hilarious new rom-com series from Netflix, starring Kristen Bell and Adam Brody. Nobody Wants This centers on the unlikely relationship between an outspoken agnostic podcast host, Joanne, and an unconventional rabbi, Noah. They can tell after one night that there's something special between them, but it's more than just a connection. Standing between them are their different outlooks on life, all of the modern obstacles to love, and their sometimes well-meaning, sometimes sabotaging families. Everyone loves giving their opinions. We certainly love giving ours. Let's jump right in.
Let's do it. All right. J&J, hey, writing in with a red flag or deal breaker that caused quite a debate at the brunch table this past week.
Here we go, Judge J&J.
Let's do it. This spawned from me sharing the planned living arrangements with my now long-distance boyfriend who was about to move in with me to my girlfriend's. By the way, thank you. I would never have met such a fantastic guy without your words of wisdom all these years.
Okay, here we go.
A lot of credit. I love it.
Moving long distance, move in right away. I like it. They're diving in.
Love it. I own a...
Just like us with a podcast. We jump right in.
Jump right in. 70 minutes in. I own a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home, currently sleeping in the primary bedroom / using the primary bathroom. There are no roommates, family, etc., or anything occupying the rest of the house. When my boyfriend would visit, he'd stay in my room and share the bed with me, but would use the second full bathroom down the hall, storing most of his man stuff in there as well. We plan to continue the same arrangement once he moves in. Primary bathroom is mine, full just down the hall is his. Why fight over one bathroom or get in each other's way if we have another totally free bathroom just down the hall? It's convenient and saves a ton of time. However, the other half of my friends seem shocked by this, comparing it to sleeping in separate beds or bedrooms, or saying that's what old married couples do. So if you're doing that from the start, it's a red flag. Some said that by not sharing a bathroom, we were missing out on the sexy part of being a couple. Have these people ever used a bathroom?
I mean,
you haven't watched someone shit. You're missing out on the sexiest part of a relationship.
Come on, when are you going to see someone grunt over a big old turd?
The arrangement has worked out for my boyfriend living here a week at a time every month so far, and until this point, never thought this could be an issue. Do you agree with half of my friends that this is a red flag? Their friends are crazy.
I wonder if her friends are single or not.
Have they ever lived with a person?
It feels like the opinions of romanticized imagination of what a relationship is.
Right. To me, this would make a relationship much more sexy.
I mean, do you know I moved in with a woman at one point, and everyone was like 2 bathrooms.
2 bathrooms.
Everyone said it, and I was like, "Oh, we'll be fine." And it was a little bit contentious with the one bath. We had 1 bathroom, and that was like, you met the real me.
No, it's a thing. I have to say, I've lived with Mike with 1 bathroom, and I've lived with him with 2.
Yeah.
Life is better with more than 1 bathroom.
Yeah, I wonder if her friends, like the half of her friends, are like they just all single women who have this like idealized version of what a relationship is.
In fact, I would say this is actually like maybe a key to a happier marriage or a happier relationship.
Well, this is something I've said
it's
this
so
for
much
years.
sexier to not have to go into a bathroom after someone has taken a shit and then
Right.
smell that that's not like hot.
Right. That depends.
I would say, like, to me, like, this is keeping it much hotter.
Yeah, the hotness, not hotness of it all, like that's one part of it. And it's also just like the comfortability, just like I can go to my bathroom, I can be in there as long as I want. I can put all my stuff where I want my stuff to be put.
Yeah.
We can go to separate bathrooms and then get ready and then come together in the living room and see the new fresh version of the person that we've been dating. This is the opinion. This is why separate bedrooms doesn't exist. Judgment of friends.
Right.
Separate bedrooms make some sense.
People like it.
Yeah. I don't even, listen, to me, I think there should be 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms. One for her, one for me, and then another for all the stuff we do in between.
It was the sex bedroom.
Sex
Smush
bedroom.
room, as they called it in Jersey Shore.
What do they call it?
Smush room.
The smush room.
Yes.
That's, I'll put a sign above it.
I think that actually
That would be a beautiful
that'd be great
arrangement.
for a relationship.
Right. And I think more people would do that if someone, you have your neighbors clutching her pearls. Oh, what
Right.
kind of a relationship could exist with this arrangement? And it's like,
Don't listen to
fuck
those
off,
idiots.
Mrs. Kravitz. Let's do another one.
Okay.
J&J Obsessed with the Pod has really given me a lot of laughs and helped me through my dating journey. I was recently dating a guy who I thought might be the one. We were both 37, met on Bumble. I didn't realize he lived in a different state until our first date. Got hood-fished. He told me he had recently gotten out of a long-term relationship, was looking to possibly relocate closer to his family. His parents live near me, and knew more clearly what he wanted in a partner after breaking up with his ex. He played the detective card prior to us meeting and knew what I did for work, creeped my social media, and even looked up my house to make sure I fit with what he wanted. Sounds weird, but I kind of liked it. I don't like any of this.
I don't like the way that he presented it, but I think looking someone up, fine.
Right.
Making those judgments in your mind, fine.
Not
Telling
saying it.
telling the person is icky. But like thinking it. Have I looked up a guy? Have I Googled a guy and saw his job and been like, that fits with the job, the guy that I'm dating and looking for?
That
Sure.
is, but that's good.
But I wouldn't go on the date. Yeah.
Looking up the
His
home
address.
address
Yeah,
and
that
being
part's
like, well,
weird.
your 2
the
bathroom
neighborhood.
situation could fit for our shitting.
Right.
Like I don't like, yeah, I'm with you.
Or again, even if you were going to do that, to say it is the creepier part.
Right. We immediately hit it off and went out again the next night. Well, he was in town. The next day he left to go back home. He booked a trip to come down and see me and booked another one after that for just 10 days later. Both trips were absolutely incredible. Our communication, the foundation we were building was unlike anything I'd ever seen. We aligned on all key things, talked about hard topics, had so much in common, great chemistry, and I had a lot of fun. Over the past weekend when we were apart, he got cold and distant on me and then told me about his concerns with distance and moving, going against everything he had previously said as I was following his lead on the pace and our future plans. I asked him if he wanted me to still come visit him, and he said yes. The next night, he decides I shouldn't come up to visit, night before I'm leaving. We moved too fast. He is cursed.
Wow. It's pulling out all the stops.
Oh, a witch. I didn't give money to a homeless woman, and she put a curse on me, and now I can't even feel my penis.
Lesson to the daters. If you're going to lie, pick one lie.
Just go
If you
with
pick
one.
5, none of them are true.
It's too risky to try. Basically, he's scared of getting hurting me and doing distance. It
That's
was
what I'm
just
saying.
a
You threw
lot.
5 in those.
And I don't know. And we have only one bathroom.
There's a woman in a suitcase.
Is that my wife? It was literally a 60-0 without anything happening. Although he won't admit it, I think his friends got in his head about dating long distance and considering moving. First, was I love bombed, or was he being genuine? And secondly, a red flag or deal breaker that he lets his friends have that kind of influence over him to sabotage a good relationship before they even meet me. Sincerely, a heartbroken long distance lover. I think
The friends thing, she's
Where did that come from?
She's writing a story. here.
right. What is it? Fan fiction.
Red flag or deal breaker. You have no evidence that this is the case.
Oh, his friends must be convincing him not to move. No friend. Let me tell you this. No guy friend is telling other guys where to move, what not to do. This is an invented thing by him. He's trying to get you to shut the fuck up.
Yeah, the fact that he listed 6 excuses is a...
And my friends keep telling
He's got
me.
one for every comeback that you could have.
Right.
The distance. Well, we'll make it work. I'm cursed.
Right.
I've got a sage stick. Like,
Heather Graham told me I could manifest a better life for
Anything
myself.
that he comes out, he's coming up with 6 things in case she has a rebuttal for any of them.
And the friends is like the easiest one because like it's not like you can call the friends.
Right, she's never met them.
Right. So it's just these, imaginary friends that told him he shouldn't move. The idea that I would ever look at a friend and be like, don't go down to Chicago. You're not going to like it, man. Stay with me. We can be single in this city forever. Like, that is not a real person.
There's something you might say to make someone think that this isn't, then take the blame off of yourself.
Right. This is a bullshit excuse. He doesn't want to date you. Oh. No, I'm sorry.
I mean,
here's the red flag deal breaker. He didn't love bomb you. And I know that someone is just angry
he changed his mind.
Yeah. And here's the thing about long distance and changing your city is you have that excuse ready for you at any time. So I think the big red flag deal breaker is him changing his city, not telling you and letting you make that decision for yourself. I'm not sure if you would have made it or not, but he took away your ability. And this is why I don't like changing locations and then going on the date and be like, well, I'm actually from another town, but my parents live nearby and I'm here all the time.
It's manipulative.
It's manipulative. That's fucked up. That's the red flag. He didn't even give you the opportunity to turn him down.
Right.
Based on logistics, which isn't romantic. You got caught up, and this is very female, to get caught up with the romanticism of, oh my God, it's better than anyone I've ever met, and he's from another town, but he's going to move here. It's like, that's a very romantic, idealized way for this to work out.
Yeah.
And then
well,
bro got logistical.
That's the story that he pitched her, though. So I don't think he was right for painting this picture of a life they could have before he was sure he wanted it. And that's really what happened.
Well, and also, he didn't even give her a chance to think logically.
Right.
You think logically before you meet. Hey, I know this is weird, but I live in another city.
Before you sleep together.
Right.
Before you spend a weekend together.
Right. He took away her, not ability. I'm not going to say that like you sleep with someone, you become this like, naive idiot. But I would say that when you don't hey, before we meet, I live in another town.
Right.
So make the decision of whether we should date before we get together. Maybe that's not right for you, and I would understand that.
And I do think it's manipulative, though, to paint a picture of what your life could be like together for the person, to get them into it, because you want them to be into it, because you want them to be okay with you not living there.
Right.
And while you're still debating if you actually want to date them.
Right. Yeah.
That's not upfront.
It's fucked up. I don't like any of it. And and it's also just not even. Like, I either move there and get married to you or stay in my city and be single.
Right.
It's like, those are not even decisions. And he's kind of made it even.
And he's made it like binary. Like
right.
That's how he's using that to end it. He's not like, let's take it slower. He's saying like, okay, this was fun. I had a good time. Now I've realized I actually don't want to date you. So I'm going to say I'm cursed and the distance and my friends and like, just be like honest. I got too caught up in it. I really did like you. I just don't see it going
None
anywhere.
of this is honest, but it's honest to him.
You think he believes he believes he's cursed?
I think no, but that's bullshit.
Okay.
There's no friends. That's bullshit. I do think he romanticized himself.
Right. So say that.
And I got carried away.
Yes.
If he had said that to her, listen, I got carried away. Now I'm dealing with the check that I have written and I have to cash it.
And I apologize.
Because I can't move. I'm not going to move. I like where I live. I'm also don't have the energy to come visit you every 10 days on a flight. I'm scared of that too.
I'm sorry I lied and said that I could.
Right. Now I'm realizing I can't. Things change. I've changed my mind. And that's
that's honest.
That's honest. That's being
that's
more
brave
real.
To say that.
He won't get that credit, but
that's what I'm saying. If he were that would be a braver way to do it. He's being a bullshit artist, which is annoying.
Let's do one more.
All right. I'm a huge fan of the pod and everything you do. I'm a benefit subscriber. Love it. I'll cut right to the chase. I've recently gone on a few dates with a guy I met on a dating app. For context, I'm a 31-year-old woman living in a major city. Our first couple of dates were more casual drinks dates, and so far I've had a great time with him. Here's the issue. He suggested we do dinner as our next date. When he named the restaurant he wanted to go to, I noticed it's one of the more popular vegan restaurants in our city. He hadn't previously mentioned being vegan, so I was curious and asked. He responded, confirming he was, mentioning that he does it for health reasons. When he said it, I immediately felt disappointed and a gut feeling that this was not going to work out. I come from a big food family, and I love cooking, trying new restaurants, and sharing food. It's something that gives me a lot of joy, and I had hoped that this would be something I could share with a potential partner. Most of my friends are also like this, and a lot of my social life revolves around going out for meals together. I know my family would not react well to this. What is she from? Like the family?
Not in this house.
Family of butchers?
You will not eat tofu on my living.
Right?
On my dime.
Soprano family?
Yeah.
I did talk about this being something I care about on our first date, and he didn't say anything one way or another, which is why I was surprised to learn later on that he's vegan. Truthfully, if this was something that was on his dating profile, I probably wouldn't have matched with him in the first place. That being said, I have really enjoyed my time with him so far, and I could have pictured it continuing. So here's my question. If everything else is going well, are dietary restrictions a valid deal breaker, or am I being overly picky? When I asked a friend for advice, they said, it's the first guy you've liked in a while. You can get over this. It's not that big of a deal. But truthfully, I don't know if I can get past it. I keep imagining what life would be like, always having to accommodate, not being able to go to restaurants I want to, cook together, or share food. I've dated guys who don't care as much about food, but never anyone with such a restrictive diet. What do you think? She's annoying me.
Listen, you like him. It hasn't been a problem. Let's see if it's a problem.
She hasn't even
she didn't even give him a chance.
Right, tried to do anything.
This
is the thing that like if you're in a relationship, to speak for the annoying relationship people, and you meet someone who's single and they complain about being single, and then they tell you a story like this, and you're kind of like, you're fucking annoying me.
Right, right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Right. No, and listen, I am this person. I'm the person who gets ahead. I'm the person who envisions a life. I'm an eater. I like food. I like cool restaurants. I like looking up the menu. But you didn't even. And
she's making all these assumptions.
And then you've tried to vilify him for not putting it on his profile. That's where you really get annoying.
Right. It's not like he had a kid.
Right. You didn't tell me you don't eat beef. It's crazy. And I understand she's cynical. She's dated for years. She doesn't want to go down the path of hurting herself and go on the fucking date. You're being an asshole. And also, if you're such a big food, this person picked the popular vegan place.
They clearly like eating good, interesting food just because it's vegan. I think she's very limited in her food creativity if she doesn't think she could find vegan food that would appeal to her.
The more she said she was open, the more closed off she sounded. Right. And
I
it's
love
like
all
my
kinds
family
of
won't
food,
accept him.
Except vegan food.
Right. And he says he does it for health reasons. Those could change. I'm not telling you, I'm not going to make promises that he's going to change, but I'm telling you, go with it.
Right. She's writing in about this as if he hid that he has a child or like a second family or like.
Right. No one is going to take your side.
I'm not.
I'm not. I agree. You know who would take your side? A joke on the internet. People go, yeah, I got to have a food family. And I make the joke. I get it.
Would you date a vegan?
Would I date a vegan? Yeah. I would date them. Right. Date them, whatever.
You think you're better than Jared?
You think you're better than me? I would, I'd fuck a vegan and then I'd, whatever.
Then I'm send them on their way with a tofu jerky. All right.
Tofu jerky.
And thanks again to Netflix for sponsoring today's episode. The love you want isn't always the one you expect. So flirt with the possibilities. Good lesson for this person who wrote in with the red flag or deal breaker. Fall in love with Nobody Wants This, the hot and hilarious new rom-com series from Netflix starring Kristen Bell and Adam Brody. It brings that classic rom-com chemistry and charm, but with all the modern dating woes we all know a little too well. We all know it's not easy to find the one, but hey, isn't it so much fun to watch it all unfold?
It's a blast.
Nobody Wants This is now playing only on Netflix.
We solved dating again, Jordana.
We did it.
In a quick 91 minutes.
As we do.
As we do. So we'll be back on Sunday.
Bye. The U Up podcast is produced by Belle Roman and Candace Maniga. Edited by Belle Roman. Social media by Candace Maniga. Guest booking by Ali Friedlander. VP of podcast is Chris Allen. And be sure to follow You Up at u.up.podcast.